into you. So pay attention, and our first one's on George and Sandy Chambers.
Thank you so much. I'm Sandy Chambers. I was also an elementary teacher. I taught for 8 years and retired after we had our second child. And this is my husband, George.
My name is George Chambers. I just thank you all for letting us be here today. The cool thing about this is this wasn't anything I ever thought of as a business. I never thought of it as a health thing. You know, back in 1999, my father passed away in an airplane accident. My brother-in-law as well. 7 other people on board, and they all died. And the only thing I felt I could control at that time, when I was 375 pounds, at that moment, was my weight. People could tell me how wonderful and how healthy it was for me to lose weight. I didn't believe it. Then, after I met Sandy in 2003, I was still about 350, 360, and we were freshly engaged, and we were getting ready to plan our life together. And I called her. I said, I think I'm having a heart attack. I really am. My chest is beating, and I just can't figure this out. I hadn't been diagnosed with diabetes yet. I didn't know I had it. I didn't think I cared. So I went to the hospital. I got there, and 4 days later, I woke up, and they said, yeah, you had a diabetic coma. Nurses in the room, you know what that is, right? People wake up from that stuff. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So diabetes I didn't know about almost killed me. And you'd think at that moment in 2003, that would be the important shift in my life to make me want to change, and it didn't. It was until last year, and Sandy will tell a little bit about that. I'll come back to it, but until then.
Okay, no, it's great. It's great how we get there, because it was totally not what you would expect. The first picture on the left is literally 2 weeks before my sister got engaged. And I was at a very uncomfortable position physically. I definitely was overweight. I definitely had issues. I was dealing with PCOS. I had 2 children. My hormones were all out of whack. A lot of women understand that. But I also had high anxiety and high blood pressure, and I was not even 30 years old. So at that point in my life, I thought, how dare my sister go and get engaged so that I have to go and get my body in check in time for her wedding. That was ultimately what got me started with a bootleg copy of PIO. And I fell in love with it. I was like a P90X dropout 10 years ago. So when I started with PIO, it was because I had no strength. I had no starting point. And every morning he would see me get up and go struggle in the living room. And he thought it was really funny. And he would sit there and watch me.
It's the best workout ever for me.
And then finally, one day, the wedding comes around. And we're dancing. It was beautiful. It felt wonderful. I lost 65 pounds. Wow. It was 3 rounds of 21-day fix and multiple 3-day refreshes in there. And then this is what he says to me. We're dancing, and this is what he says.
Oh, honey, you're making me look bad. I didn't want to point the finger at myself and say I was making myself feel bad. I was making myself unhealthy. My wife's transformation made me look bad. And so that's when I realized there was something so much more to this. And so Sandy says, well, why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you try a shake? Now, by the way, she's been doing this for a long, long time. And she's been doing the Shakeology and drinking it. And I'm looking at this going, I've got a brother that's a doctor in the family. I've got a sister-in-law that's a doctor. I've got a cousin that's a doctor. They're all different levels of doctorisms. And they're, come on, diabetes, you have to go to an endocrinologist. They know what they're doing. So she says, why don't you drink the shake? And I swear to you, this is what I said to her. The monkey, going out. This is a hoax. This is a trick thing. This is something. She goes, but didn't you see what you said I did? Yeah, I look at me, look at you. So I go to my endocrinologist, and it's ready for my A1C test. And at that time, my A1C almost a year ago now was 9.7. And if anybody doesn't know what an A1C is, your 3-month blood test is basically the average of what your blood sugar would have been as a diabetic. And 6.2, 6.3, depending on the doctor, is non-diabetic. I was 9.7 at that time. And I told my doctor, and she's a little small doctor about this high. She said, it reminds me of you. She's full of energy. And she comes in and she goes, you got a problem here. Your diabetes is taking over. I got marks on my legs from the I guess whatever they call that. I don't even know what it's called, but it's permanently there. And she goes, you might want to start, taking the medicines and do the shots. I said, I've already been doing that. I've been doing that for 2004. My doctor says I'm, what was it? Non-compliant patient. I was. But I was a non-compliant patient. She said, well, maybe we should do something different. We'll put this thing on you called a VGO device. It's for diabetics. It's a pump for diabetic type 2. And she goes, this will be what will help you survive the rest of your life. You'll never be able to take this thing off. Now, I'm not going to do that. No, we're going to keep on doing the shots, the pills, whatever. No, you don't have a choice anymore. You're to that point where the next things that we're going to take off you is going to be a part of your body. And I go, okay, I'll do the Vigo device. That's a good idea. Then I decided I'll do that.
Mind you, we have 2 small children who are 7 and 5 years old, and every time we would get hit with these medical things, it would be like, well, we got to be around at least until we get married. You know, we got to be around.
So I go and do this Vigo device, and I go for a couple times, and things are getting a little better, but 9.6, 9.7, not really a lot. And Sandy says, why don't you do the shake? I go, honey, this is one of those things, you know, the doctor. So I go to the doctor and I tell her, my wife wants me to do Shakeology. She wants me to drink a macro, micro, nutrient shake. They'll help me with all my vitamins and all my nutrients I'm missing every single day.
Do you think I've said it a few times? Just a few times.
And the doctor looks at me and says this, in the absence of what you're doing, anything's better.
True story. Wish I was there to see that.
3 months later, 9.2. 3 months later, 8.7. 3 months later, 8.2. 3 months later, 6.9.
Oh, 1 year.
No new good advice. All I have done is drink a shake. I've changed the diet. I've eaten things differently. But I can promise you this much. At 5 in the morning, I'm not working out. Maybe one day a week I'm working out where I had to get up and actually move the remote, but I am actually starting to work out. I'm starting to enjoy it more because I'm not sure if anybody's ever had diabetes or anybody that knows somebody, but when your blood sugar is at 9.7, functioning in the mental state of trying to figure out what you're going to do next is almost something that you constantly forget. You know, I would equate it to hitting your head against the wall 400 times and going, gosh, I think I want to do that again. Because I couldn't constantly keep my head on straight as to where I was trying to go and what I was trying to accomplish. Now I'm to the point where I can do it, I can make the decision that I'm going to move forward. I'm going to work out consistently. So the picture on the far right is 2003 with Dear God, today I woke up, I'm healthy, I'm alive. And that's not the picture I'm representing. The picture on the far bottom right was last week in San Francisco at a wine thing. So from 375 pounds, I'm 265 pounds today. So I understand that.
So ultimately, the real reason why I wanted to share with you guys is not just because we have each one of us our own personal transformation, but what it did for our relationship was extremely significant because a lot of people deal with my spouse is not supportive. And obviously, he was not supportive in the beginning, but because I was persistent and I knew I was right. I mean, how could this? I've tried everything else, and the one thing that worked for me, it's going to work for you too, and it's worked for now. I have hundreds of clients. I'm a single star diamond coach too. And I have over 400 clients around the country. And I love what I do. I love working with people every day. I love keeping them accountable. I love texting them at 5 in the morning. Did you work out? I love what we do.
My brother and my sister-in-law now.
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting.
At first my brother and my sister-in-law were like, come on, we're doctors.
As a result of George's results, my results, the consistency and maintaining and seeing how it's really made a huge difference in our lives, physically, health-wise, everyone in our family has started to pay attention, even the physicians, and we have multiple physicians in the family who are referring patients to us as clients to help with their nutrition, to help them stay on track. And we're seeing text messages come from Oklahoma and Vermont. I just hit my goal, I lost 20 weights, I love you. I was like, I love you too. It's so exciting. It's so exciting. So thank you so much for having us out here today. Keep up the good work. Obviously, we have a fabulous team, a fabulous family, and I just love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.